Welcome to the All-Star Networking Podcast. It's the show where you hear from a new expert each week on how to build an all-star network, increase business sales, grow careers, find a job, or enrich your life. Let's get it started. From the Midtown Global Market in Minneapolis, here's your host, Kathy Paper.
Welcome to the All-Star Networking Show. I'm Kathy Paper, here with, as I call my trusty producer, Matt Tell, the Executive Director of the Friends of the Midtown Global Market. I'm so excited for today's guest, Tyrone Minor. We were chatting before pushing the record button, and so many different things we could talk about, Tyrone, and I'm so excited to have you here. So maybe just tell the listeners just a bit about you, and and if what you leave out, I'll add in during the course of our conversation. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, CP and Matt. So my name is Tyrone Minor, and I am a proud product of the historic Rondo community. Born and raised here in Minnesota. In my former life, I was a pretty decent athlete.
You're being humble.
And, currently I own and operate a fitness studio called the Fit Lab. It's located in Falcon Heights, and I'm also an educator. I will be starting my 23rd year in education in the Osseo School District later this month.
Excellent. That's why I said I'm so glad we got you here to talk a little bit about networking and fitness and, all of that. Amazing. So humble for sure. So I'll decide when to pepper in all your accolades. But we won't be having a foot race in the market. That's all I'm going to say.
That's right. I appreciate that, CC.
So let's talk a little bit about networking and maybe just start with the why is networking or building relationships important to you? And do you even use the word networking?
I do, but maybe not in the traditional sense. And let me start by saying that I'm a self-proclaimed introvert. And so I know usually the perception of networking is it's some formal event where you're going and you're meeting people, going out on a limb, just, building relationships. For me, I don't look at networking in that traditional way. I actually think that it's great to utilize other areas. Let's say, for example, sporting events. The unique thing about sporting events is that they can sort of unite a group of people, or they can create some friendly rivalry. So one of the places that I've found that I've had some success in the traditional sense of networking have been, so my wife works for Target. We have had opportunities to go to some games and meet some people, and just, I've had to put myself in places where I'm not comfortable. But I think that space created opportunities for organic networking, not forceful networking, right? So for me, I like for it to happen organically, where I just, meet people and we talk about whatever it is, our interests, or in that case, the example I gave, like a sporting event, we can talk about how great or how bad our teams are. And, that just sort of starts a conversation. And from there, I think just with organic conversation, I feel like that's the best way to build those relationships.
What is the hesitation about going to the events? Is it that it's meeting new people, or is the introvert piece strong, or feel like you have to be on?
That's a good question. I'm a person who likes deeper, more in-depth conversations. And typically, I feel like in most social settings where you don't know a lot of people, the conversations are usually pretty superficial. I'm just not much for small talk generally. I really like to, obviously I like to talk sports or talk, whatever the thing is of the day. But in general, I like deeper conversations. And so in the past, I used to be hesitant or reluctant to go to events where I didn't know a lot of people. But being a business owner, I understand that it's necessary in today's age, right? It's part of exposing your brand and growing your brand, but yeah, there's also a lot of other benefits that we'll probably talk about later on.
It's a great answer. So thank you for sharing that, because I know introvert or extrovert, we all approach the new situation with a little, nobody wants to do superficial conversations all day. Maybe not nobody. Some people like that.
Yeah.
But even you asked me sort of what my son's goals were for his fitness.
Yep.
And, that's a pretty deep relator type question. If you've ever done Strength Finder.
I have.
Which, are you a relator?
I actually have my 5 right here. I'm prepared. So learner, strategic, achiever, input, and deliberative. So those are my 5. I actually, after having some conversations with Paul, he told me that you sort of encouraged him to do it.
Yeah.
And then, so it's almost like I'm the beneficiary of your expertise, even though it wasn't directly. It went to Paul, and then Paul told me. I almost felt like, you know what, most people know what their strengths are, and because those are the careers that they pursue or their hobbies. But after taking the Strength Finder test, made me do a little bit more self-analysis, and I said, it pretty accurately described me. I'm a big time learner.
Yeah.
I almost feel like every day I set a goal for myself to learn something, and I think that's also probably part of the reason I love to travel so much, because I learn so much when I travel.
Interesting. So, okay, there's my plug, Matt. If you haven't done the Strength Finder, or any listeners have, you have done it. Okay, we'll compare notes on strengths, because to me, Strength Finder is the greatest way to learn what comes naturally to you, because so often we take it for granted, and you're like, oh, everybody must do that. And not everybody is as deliberative as you are. Or input. My husband has input, which it means, you'll go deep in a subject and want to learn everything you can.
Absolutely.
Right? So Strength Finder, super interesting. You can buy the book online, take the test online, and again, it's super easy. And to me, it was language that I could understand. Like, oh, I'm competitive. That's one of my strengths, and I thought everybody was competitive. And it's like they're not in that same way. And so figuring out how do you use it. But okay, back to networking.
Yes.
Because if you're a learner, though, what could be interesting is to have a question that finds out something about the other person. Like, what are you reading? So that you take that sort of our superficial tendency when we connect. You could ask people a question.
Well, so I guess I'll get in.
Go to the next one.
When I think about networking, one of the, I don't know if I'd say it's a superpower, but strategies that I use, and this isn't even, whether it's a quote-unquote networking event or just me meeting people, it's almost, I think of it like a tennis match, and I serve and hit the ball into their court, and I want people to talk about, I call them the GITs, G-I-T, gifts, interests, and talents. So I get people to talk about things that they are gifted at or interested in, their talents, because I'm generally interested in learning about that person. But I also feel like that makes just the conversations flow better, and just it creates an environment for organic networking and the building of a relationship.
And okay, so because I love the gifts idea, but then take the tennis analogy. So you get to know them, and then presumably they ask you questions about you, or how does the ball go back and forth?
So when I hit the ball into their court, and they get to reveal a little bit about themselves or what they're interested in, whether or not the ball comes back to my court tells me a little bit about that person and how I might have to approach building our relationship. So, for example, if you were using that analogy, if you were to hit the ball in my court, I would tell you a little bit about me, but then I'll hit the ball back to you. And I find that, some people get sort of lost, and they maybe start hitting the ball on their racket and they don't bring it back.
Yeah.
Again, that tells me, and it's not to say that that's something negative about them. It just tells me sort of their makeup.
Yes.
But yes, in an ideal world, they'd hit the ball back, and I'd tell them a little bit about me, especially because only through the building of trust in a relationship will I reveal more. So in the beginning, I reveal what I feel necessary. If it's a business meeting, if it's we share common interests or whatnot, and then the greater the relationship, or as it as it evolves into whatever it's going to evolve into, then I reveal more and more about myself. And I don't know if part of that, Kathy, is just the way I was brought up. I was brought up more, with the idea of, humility, being humble. You don't have to gloat, even though ironically one of my heroes is Muhammad Ali, right? So there's an irony there. But so, for example, as I alluded to in the intro, I was a pretty decent athlete. I was a multiple time state champion in high school in track, and went on to get a full Division I scholarship and competed nationally for the better part of about 12 years. And during that time, my talent sort of spoke for itself, and the attention just naturally came. I mean, whether it was, newspaper articles or interviews. And so because of my makeup and because of that time, I didn't have to self-promote. And so for the longest time, I carried that mindset with me where I don't have to tell people about what I've done. I'm confident in who I am. But let's just fast forward, though, 35 plus years later from when I first started getting attention for my athletic prowess. In today's day and age, you need to tell people about who you are and what you do in terms of, and I'm thinking more in terms of your brand, right? If you want to see a certain level of growth, there should be some brand recognition, and people need to know about some of the great things you're doing. I even look back on when I first opened the first Fit Lab in 2013. We were doing some phenomenal things in the community. We were one of, if not the first fitness studio to combine the three components of fitness, nutrition, and mental health. We did so many great things in the community, but I didn't necessarily run and tell everybody about it.
Right.
When I look back, and for the listeners, I think it's a good idea to document the things that you do. It's not necessarily bragging. I think that's one of the things that can, so say for example, I did broadcast or share a little bit more about what I was doing on social media. Well, you may catch the eye of someone that can help you grow, and amplify your message or whatever it is you're doing.
Well, which is why what I'm going to say too is you told a story to me where you had a race against somebody and you said, I'm going to be laying down,
yes,
and I'm going to beat you. So a little bit of the Muhammad Ali, a little gaming, a little fun. Somebody that said that they were faster, right?
Yes.
But you didn't show that video on your Instagram, did you?
Nope.
But you have a different video of you running track in high school, or was that college?
So the video I posted on IG, that was my college, or actually that was my high school, the state meet from my senior year.
Yeah.
And I actually put that on there. There's a little bit of, okay, you know what, this was a good time for me in life in terms of just being an elite athlete. I put it on there to inspire people, because going into that state meet, I was the state record holder in the triple jump. And while I was running another event, I call him my rival, but he's a good friend now. His name was Leapin' Leonard. That was his nickname, right?
Leapin' Leonard is listening. We're going to tell Leapin' Leonard to listen.
Right. I'll make sure he gets a copy of this, or he should definitely tune in. While I was running, I think it was the 4x1, he broke my state record. So I was the state record holder for a week. And the long story short is I had one more jump left, and on that last jump, I jumped a foot further than he jumped. Now, they claimed that it was wind aided, meaning there was more wind that's allowable for it to qualify as a legal performance. So I won the state meet on the last jump of my senior year. And to this day, no native Minnesotan has jumped that far, and no one has jumped that far at the state meet. So it was over 30 years ago.
Wow.
But anyways, I put the video.
Not in any ways. Pause. We're calling this this is noteworthy.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I put the video on there to just let people know that, adversity is going to come about in everyone's life. And I just had that belief in myself that I could still win. I could still put it off. I knew I couldn't control the outcome, but I could control my mindset and my effort. And my mindset and effort said that I could still win this. Needless to say, I ended up the state champ, and it was a proud moment for me. But like I said, more than anything, when I put fitness videos up or videos, so I have kind of two different areas. I have my own personal brand, which is Chisel Inc. I didn't mention that in the beginning, and that's my own brand. I work with elite athletes. I work with professionals. On that site, I will put videos of myself doing the things that most people would think that people my age shouldn't be able to do. And it's intentional, because I want to let people know that, you can continue to grow and evolve and perform at a high level. It may look a little bit different because Father Time is undefeated, but I can proudly say, right, that even as an educator, 23 years in, I can do things that physically that my students can't do. And I'm in better shape than almost all of them. That sort of makes me, they might call me a role model, but I would say real model.
Oh, I like that term.
Right. That means I'm not without flaws, but I do strive to get the best out of people. I want to help people become the best version of themselves, and I think I'm able to do that in both of my professions, both as an educator and as a fitness studio owner and trainer.
That's great. So, okay, there's so much there to unpack, and you always inspire me to up my fitness game. So I like the real model, but the piece about the personal brand and networking is, I want to talk about that because, we have had two plus years for the pandemic.
Yep.
And building relationships has changed so much. When you work on your personal brand or put things out there, was it challenging to get started doing that for people that are trying to figure out, how do I build a connection online, or how do I tell somebody what I'm good at? Do you have any advice for people of how they get over that hurdle of putting an article that they've written or sharing? My daughter calls it a humble brag.
Yeah, I mean, we're all so uniquely gifted and talented. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for the talent that we have. When I see, like, let's say an artist, a graphic artist, I'm so amazed at their ability to, because I'm really stick figures, like just terrible, right, in that aspect. And I'll know people that have tremendous talent in that area, and they just take it for granted. Oh, this is kind of what I do, and I doodle, and they don't share that with the world. And my advice would be, whatever you're gifted at, share that with the world, because if you think about it, it's almost selfish if you don't share that gift. You may inspire someone else. You could actually, that could be a side hustle, it could be your primary career, but because we're all uniquely gifted in certain areas, I almost feel like it's our obligation to share that gift, because we all have different gifts. If we all had the same gifts, right, maybe it wouldn't matter as much. But because we all have our own unique gifts, I think it's almost like a gumbo or stew or jambalaya. it's not just good with one ingredient, right? We need all of those ingredients to make it what it is. And I think the same in terms of we need all of our gifts to be shared with the world to make it the best possible place it can be.
Yeah, right. So speaking of jambalaya, in your analogy, I would say one of the things that's unique about sitting here in Midtown Global Market is it's very diverse.
Yes.
30 entrepreneurs under this roof here in South Minneapolis, and all bringing sort of their gifts or culture or experiences. You might have to meet the new gentleman that runs Slice Pizza.
Okay.
Because they went to St. Paul Central. One of them played basketball at St. Paul Central. So
he has to be an awesome guy then if he's a St. Paul Central grad. Yes.
So, but bringing the gifts there. What else do you want to share with people about networking? Again, I think you've been so successful at building relationships around you and being a community leader and an inspiration for a lot of people.
Thank you. So I'll reference the African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I had to realize that actually, even before I entered education or opened up a fitness studio, I worked at a place called Job Corps. And in a short period of time, I went from part-time to supervisor. And because I like to do things like I know I can control my effort, my motivation, etc. But because of that, I had a hard time delegating, right? So I would try to take on too much. And I just feel like with networking, you can, as I referenced that proverb, you can go much further if you utilize your gifts, but also know, okay, these are areas that are not my strengths. And so I look at it from a holistic perspective. So let's just say one of my worlds, which is the world of health and fitness. I mentioned earlier that a program that I created involved physical health, mental health, and nutrition. I know when clients come to me, they need more than just to learn how to take care of their bodies and work out. They need to know that nutrition is a vital and very important component in that journey to better health. I'm not a nutritionist. I can give people guidelines about how to eat, but I know that only a certified nutritionist or dietitian can give a person a specific plan. And so I have nutrition specialists that I advise people to work with. And then all of us could benefit from some sort of mental health professional, right? Again, I'm not qualified to, even though, as a trainer and as an educator, right?
You hear a lot. I was going to say, I tell people that are that close to me a lot. I think they have a whole file on what I say.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I know there are levels to this. Yeah. And it's outside of my scope or area of expertise. So I have mental health specialists that I can refer someone to. And so it's almost like we're all part of a team of professionals that help people become the best, healthiest version of themselves that they can be. And that's why with the program that I created, it was a fitness challenge. It incorporated mental health because we know at least prior to the pandemic and prior to the Olympics with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, there was the stigma around mental health and being weak and whatnot. And it's nothing could be further from the truth. That is the ultimate sign of strength when you can acknowledge, okay, hey, I need some help in this area, right? And so in the fitness challenge I designed, the mental health component was just part of the challenge. And so In other words, it was like it gave people the okay that, you know what, even if they had preconceived notions about mental health, oh, well, it's part of the program. And then after doing the challenge, they realize, you know what, no, there are some benefits to be gained for everybody. So anyways.
No, not in any ways. I think it's, and I've done a couple of your exercises and they were very powerful.
Thank you.
To seeing the connections, as well as, we're all works in progress. And I love the African proverb because, we need community now more than ever.
Yes.
And I've been, visited your gym and you build community, there with, individuals or group programs or whatever. And for me, at least team sports, that was where I got a lot of community.
Absolutely. And let me say, Kathy, that I think it's so awesome that you decided to host your podcast here. Let me give you your flowers during this podcast, because not very many people would have made that decision, and it was a conscious decision because of the diversity of this place, and also there are a lot of entrepreneurs here. Their livelihoods depend on this, and so any attention that you can bring to this space, I think, is obviously much appreciated by the business owners, but I think can help break down barriers, when you get people in the same space and you start breaking bread and experiencing different cultures. Again, that's why I love traveling so much, because it just opens up my world. I like to say that athletics, for me, was a passport to a better life. It opened up my world. It allowed me to start traveling and meeting new people. And I guess I feel like with traveling, that's a form of networking. I've met people in some different parts of the world that I'm talking 10, 12 years ago that I'm still in contact with today.
Oh, I think traveling is a great way to, to me, networking is connection. And Matt and I, we've talked about how do you network with purpose? How do you connect with purpose? You talk to different people, you learn what they're about. At the end of the day, we're all people trying to make our mark or share our gifts, help other people. I'm getting kind of deep. Usually I'm not so deep.
Yeah. Sorry to throw you a curveball, but hopefully you'll connect with maybe a different part of your growing audience.
Yeah. No, I like that you said too, athletics are a passport to places, because I think being a business owner or a giver to other people to help people, we all need customers of one form. Whether you work inside an organization, you have customers, internal customers, and building relationships and friends. And
so I do have a son, an adult son, and he's actually a father. And I mentioned a couple times that I'm an educator, and I don't think, especially the younger we are, I don't think we realize how important our immediate social network is, right? There are people that have said you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that can basically impact the trajectory of your life. And so I'm thinking about not just networking in the sense of meeting new people, but also making sure that, like Paulo Coelho says in The Alchemist, surrounding yourself with people who believe in your dreams, right? When I'm networking in the traditional sense, or actually building my network, and thanks to, again, this is a shout out to Kathy, I have my top 25. In that top 25, I'm proud to say there are a diverse group of people. So I like to include people in that top 25 that have different talents, interests, but they're also positive people, and they're people that I can see myself moving forward with. And so for me, I like to have organic, deeper relationships, not just superficial. I feel like you can get so much more out of a network if, let's just say, for example, you talk to somebody and you don't want anything, or you just send them a text, or you make a comment on their social media just to let them know that you're thinking about them, or you share some information with them. I'm definitely big into making sure that I keep people in my immediate circle that are positive, supportive, and they're ambitious. As I got older, I realized two things. Number one, those physical gifts are going to leave you. But secondly,
like you said, Father Time is undefeated.
Undefeated.
I like that.
Right?
I'm still holding out to win in the 55s for tennis.
Right? But at the same time, as we talked about earlier, everybody has different unique gifts and talents. And so I like to now amplify everybody's talents.
Great. Oh, and with the kids, because what you said of the top 25, I think when you're a kid, you don't think about that your parents' friends are your parents' friends for a reason. They're good people. They care about you. They've seen you since you were in diapers in many cases. You do anything to help them be successful, right? So part of my challenge with kids in their 20s is how do I teach them that start now to surround yourself with great people and to be both a giver and a receiver. Trying to get people to learn that when you're in somebody's top 25, you're staying there because it's mutual. The feeling is mutual. People want to see you succeed. And how do we open up circles so that everybody gets those opportunities too? And I think a lot of kids maybe don't see it, or parents don't realize it's okay you want to ask somebody. If you're looking for a job at, say Target, and they know you, it's okay to say, oh, would your wife know somebody that maybe I could get an internship at Target?
That has happened.
Yes.
That has happened.
And they still have to prove themselves, but they get the door open.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
LinkedIn makes people think that you have to have 500 plus relationships. People think, to be a networker, I have to know everybody. I have to go into that room and connect with everyone. And to me, it's about getting that top 25 and your, all-star 100. Who are those people? The top 25 are the ones that you can really count on, that you can really, you help them, they help you. I liken it sometimes to people that I know, if I were to ever need something, would they be there for me? And then the All-Star 100 is just a broader list of people where I show up. So, for example, I'm invited to an event next week, after work. I have to drive somewhere. I'm not really, fired up about it. It's the end of summer, blah, blah, blah. But this person's in my 100. I'm showing up because they invited me. I want to see what they're doing. They're trying something different with a whole new panel. They're supporting internship programs. That's what your All-Star 100 is. So it's getting really clear.
Yeah.
So that, again, that superficiality that sort of starts at the beginning, who are the people you can count on.
When you're networking and you find a new contact and they do something for you or can be of benefit to you and for you, I know this is a networking show, but I talk a lot about health and fitness, because what better way to be the best networker you can be, or the best architect, or whatever it is, than to invest in your health. Health is wealth. You have to be healthy physically, mentally, and otherwise in order to do the other things you want to do in your life.
I think it's a great thing because to me, the top 25, it starts with you. You're number one. So whatever Muhammad Ali would say, I'm the greatest, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? You have to believe in yourself, and I think fitness is a great way to get there. Really great information and always so awesome to see you. Well, thank you for your time and for everything. And everybody's I'll put the link to Instagram so they can follow you and learn more about Fit Labs. And to all those students, one of them's going to beat you. In the next 5 years, I'm putting the challenge out. So any kid in Osseo, $50 when they can beat you.
They know that it's not going to happen, but I would love for them to try. And actually, if they invest that much into their health and fitness, I will gladly acknowledge them, and I'd be proud.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks for your
Kathy.
time.
Thank you for listening to the All-Star Networking Podcast with Kathy Paper. To learn more about strategic networking and making impactful connections, visit rockpaperstar.com. Please join us in supporting the Midtown Global Market as a vital community resource that supports small business, cultural diversity, and free or low-cost programming. Reach us at friendsofglobalmarket.org.